I don't think that we really go into marriage with enough understanding of what marriage is all about. I'm going to say that again. I believe that we often go into marriage without the full understanding of what marriage is all about. Yeah, some of us have gone to a couple of counseling sessions. We have, you know, I've got failed marriage under my belt. I've been there, so I'm not just pointing my finger, but looking at this, I don't think we really understand. We've watched movies, and many of the movies are not realistic. They don't give you the whole facts, or they only give you, because of the time of the movie, a season of hell. Oh, y'all ain't with me. A season of when times are not going right. But, a movie doesn't have time to give you a full season where you really understand the depths of that you have a problem and how to get out of it. Many movies actually show the good side of it, the good things about it, and they don't really, because really the struggle, really nobody wants to see a struggle for the most part. I believe, as Sheila just said, Reverend just said, we need strong teaching on marriage. We really do. We need strong teaching on marriage. So what I'm going to do, this is introductory tonight, but what I'm going to do in terms of my videos on Monday nights, I'm going to talk about single folk and single subjects. Married people, you're more than welcome to join me. On Thursday nights, I'm going to talk to the married people. Single people, you're more than welcome to join me. I believe that even though we're talking about marriage, I believe that if you're single and you desire to get married, that you need to be able to tap into as much of this as possible, because something that might be said might help you for when you do get married. Have you ever collected something knowing that you might not need it right now, but sooner or later you're going to need it? That's what this is about tonight for you single people. For you married people that are doing well, if they're, we don't wish bad on you or hope that things will fall apart. But, take these things and put them in your spirit so that if you may need them, if there's a time that you may need them, you will be able to glean from the experience and the things that we teach you tonight. Sheila said, my daughter wants to be married. Lord, guide her. I know. And I have a daughter, too, that eventually wants to be married once she finds somebody worth marrying. But there's just this generational thing going on. I spoke the other night about what I call the silent years, where our parents, our grandparents did not really teach us about love and didn't teach us about life and didn't teach us about what we needed in order to sustain a relationship. And as a result, we were left, I call it the silent years. They never talked about sex. They never really fully talked about marriage in the way that we needed to. Many of our grandparents were silent on that. And as a result, many of us have suffered, myself included. Now, we are in an information age where many of us that are watching tonight have the information that we need. And many of us are trying to pass this on to our kids. But one of the problems are we're having trouble in our relationships and marriages right now. So we're so distracted that we can't pour into our kids what we need to pour into them. Have you ever been so distracted by something that, you can't even tell somebody that's getting ready to fall into a pitfall because you're so distracted in all your mess, all the things that you're going through. And that's a trick of the enemy. So let's look at this. Let's look at some scripture real quickly tonight. And so we can see, we can understand this tonight. You're married, but you're struggling. The part of the struggle is, as you already know, is we both bring baggage to the marriage. Oh yeah. I don't care how much you think you have it going on. You really don't. I don't care how free and clear you think you are, how long it's been since you dealt with your ex and you got over all of that. And, you and I bring baggage Oh yeah, oh yeah. They've had courses. People have talked about how to get rid of your baggage, and all that's well and good, and you might be able to get rid of some of it. But if in this life you're going to bring baggage, I don't care who you are, across the board, to a marriage, you're going to be bringing in things that you may not, that have been unresolved from your childhood. You may have some issues. You may have some emotional issues. You may have some physical issues. You may have some other issues that have not, health issues, different things that have not been fully dealt with, but you bring yourself to the table. And those things are things that you have suppressed. Once you get under one roof, that's when the stuff begins to unpack. Okay. Have you ever come into the house, ladies, as soon as you get in the house, the stuff that you've been hiding, that's the stuff that comes off. You take that bra and the girdle and all that stuff. You just you're at home now. So you're relieving yourself of all of the things that have constrained you during the day, that have been used to hold certain things in place, to hide certain things. When you get in the house, that's when we start throwing and taking off a lot of things. The makeup comes off. The wig comes off. All of these things come off. When we are dealing with people, once we get behind closed doors, a lot of things start coming off. And the person is often not ready to deal with the reality of who you are. You're not with me? Okay, all right. Anybody can be attracted to a nice looking Facebook profile picture, but you don't know they got the makeup on, their hair's done, and all that. You can't fall in love with me for what you see on a Facebook profile picture or what I show you in public. I need you've got to be able to fall in love with me being raw. Are y'all not? Mariah Carey, many of you seen it. Mariah Carey showed herself a picture of herself without makeup, and it's ladies and gentlemen, it's horrifying. I don't know if you've seen it, but you need to go see it. Mariah Carey has got a picture of her with absolutely no makeup. I mean, it's unbelievable. I was shocked. I'm not talking about her in a way that I'm not talking about her, but I just want you to kind of understand this. And then when you see her, with the makeup and all of that, it's two totally different things. Many of us fall in love with the facade of the makeup or the exterior, the things that they show us. And we often get caught up in that. And then when it comes time when they're at home and the makeup is off and all of these things are revealed, now we've got to deal with, now many of us can't handle that. Now that's just the physical. But there's also the internal. I was talking about the external, but there's now the internal that we deal with of a person who's at home. Many of us have made the mistake of trying to marry people that we really didn't know. Oh yeah, we fell in love with the exterior. I mean, I can fool you with the exterior. I can fool you with what I have to offer. I can fool you by many other things. I mean, I can fool you. I can hold my breath underwater for a certain period of time, but after a while, in order for me to survive and live, I have to rise to the surface. The real Darryl Cherry, the good, the bad, the ugly, has to rise to the surface. And many times, many of us are not prepared for the reality that we're going to see. Never jump into a marriage. You're going to run into some nuts. You're going to run into some people that right away they're a nut. I can't deal with this person. Not talking about that. But for the most part, if they're not a nut, anybody can pretend to be something. You can fall in love with who they pretend to be, who they show you on the outside. They're wonderful. In the beginning of, in the beginning of a relationship, you'd be like, oh man, this person is just, this is just awesome. I mean, this person, never get married under the hype phase. That's one right there. All right. Never get married if you're in the hype phase. When you're ready for marriage is when you know this person so well. They get on your last nerves. Oh yeah, you gotta let them do that. You've got to get on their nerves. They've got to get on your nerves, because the reality is, in your marriage is going to be what the end result is going to be when they're no longer holding their breath, when they're no longer holding that stomach in, the spiritual stomach. You know, when they exhale and let that stomach out so you can see that they got a gut. Okay, yeah. That's the real person. You've got to see if you can deal with them in their imperfections. God bless you, Janet. God bless you, Terrell. You've got to realize, can you deal with them in their real, who they are, their imperfections, the stuff that gets on your last nerve, your reserved nerves about them. Do you still love them? That's the foundation where you start to work on in terms of building a marriage relationship. You go in under any other false pretenses, I'm telling you, you're gonna be saddened by that. Domenico said, I recommend people to wait 2 years. I think that's a good time to at least assess, see what's going on. Again, I could be excited to death about a person for under a year that I don't live with, that I see a few times a week. We talk on the phone all the time. I can be so excited. Let's talk real quickly. Ephesians 5:25 through 28 says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church. I don't know if we fully have been taught what that means. Again, 1 or 2 counseling sessions and to get married doesn't really give you the full information that you need, and to be able to full insight that you need to look at this thing the way it really needs to be looked at. You got to understand, brothers. Can I talk to the men for a minute? The 2 or 3 that are on here. We've got to have the capacity to love our wives like Christ loved the church. And watch this. He loved the church so much that he gave his life for it. Can you look at the church today? The church, individually, I'm talking about the people, the different people in the church. The church, a lot of people in the church are trifling. A lot of people in the church are not where they should be. They have faults. And some of the faults are not just faults that, because we're in a sinful world, we live in a sinful body. We're talking about stuff that people are doing on purpose. You remember when God told Hosea to marry the prostitute, he wanted him to see firsthand the infidelity of Israel, and how Israel, no matter how good God was to Israel, Israel was carrying on. So he wanted him to see, before you preach this thing, I need you to understand exactly how I feel. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church. Church is not perfect. Go to Revelation and read where Jesus, the letters are being opened, and those 7 churches are being ripped. One of the churches did right, but the rest of those churches were being ripped for the things that they were doing. He gave his life for a church that was going to continuously not be in order, that was going to do different things, that was going to go against him. The commandment in Ephesians 5:25 is the commandment. It's basically saying this is unconditional. The problem in the marriage is we do tit for tat. We don't do what we're supposed to do unconditionally. The word unconditionally means if the other person is not doing what you expect them to do, you still do your part. Oh, That is so hard. For better, for worse. See, we what we don't understand in a marriage is that we the better thing. We everybody's in for the better. But how about the for worse? That's the part that many of us can't really deal with. We don't think about it. We really don't think about it in terms of how we really need to think about it. Why is that vow there? For better, for worse. For better, for worse, Christ gave his life for the church. He loved the church for better or for worse. Yes, Terrell, it is very, I like how you put that. Terrell Valence Ramos says it's very, very hard. This is not easy stuff to do. If you are not on point and getting to the point where you grow spiritually, again, this is the originator of the marriage is God. He's the one that created marriage. He's given us his word that is supposed to help us through. It's supposed to build us up to the point where when we don't see what we think we need to see or that we should see, God wants to build us up so that we hang in there and we don't do the tit for tat thing, that we hang in there even though we don't see what we need to see. Let me help you one more time. Let's bring it to where Jesus is. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ has also loved the church. Christ did not see what he needed to see fully in the church. The church has strayed. The church doesn't serve him like they ought to. The church has problems. But he gave his life and loved the church even so. So that means that if we are supposed to love our wives as Christ loved the church, even when we don't see what we need to see from our wives, we are still commanded to love in the same way, even as Christ loved the church, so much so that he gave his life for it. Right there. That ought to be right there presented to somebody in divorce court. Okay. I don't have time. I can't unpack that whole thing tonight. I really can't. I can't unpack that tonight. I don't have time. But I hope you understand what I'm saying. That one verse right there, Ephesians 5:25, says it all. And then it says, so ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loves his wife loves himself. Women, can I talk to you for a minute? There are so many problems in marriage. Again, I can't unpack them all tonight. But I'm going to give you a couple of things. Many women have made a mistake of trying to love a man who really doesn't love himself. All right. Okay. All right. That's a whole subject in and of itself. Yeah, he says, he's got this. He saw his good things about himself. He thinks good about himself. All that is exterior. It's exterior stuff. Deep down, he's got some emotional issues that have stemmed from childhood. And as a result, he really doesn't love himself. I don't care what he's saying on the outside. He has insecurity issues. And when a man has insecurity issues, it's because he fully doesn't know who he is. He fully doesn't know how to love himself. He fully doesn't know how to love. And because of that, he hasn't been taught to love. He doesn't understand love. He doesn't gravitate towards love. And because of that, you hook up to him with a man like that, thinking that your love can help him, and you find out that you are in the worst hell that you've ever had been in your life, because this man doesn't love himself. There's some issues. You can't marry a man who doesn't love himself. Okay, all right. I don't know. You can't marry, or you shouldn't marry a man who doesn't love himself. If he has insecurity issues, deep insecurity issues. I hear from y'all every day. My inbox is filled with women who say he doesn't love himself. That's what she's saying in a roundabout way. If he doesn't love himself, how in the world is he going to love you when the scriptures declare, so men ought to love their wives as their own bodies? He that loves his wife loves himself. You pick the man, again, you pick a man without fully looking on all of this, you're going to have problems. If you ignore this stuff, it doesn't go away. Marriage doesn't fix. One more time. Marriage doesn't fix the problems. Marriage accentuates the problem. It makes the problem that much bigger. Whatever you got going on. Again, remember I said, once you get home, ladies, you're tired of being restrained. You take that bra goes off. You know, all that stuff, the girdle, all that stuff, take your wig, you throw it, you know, all of these things. Men, whatever you got going on. You know, once you get home, you unwind, you get rid of all of the things that have been hidden, that have been tied to you, holding you down. Once you get married and you get behind closed doors, that's when everything comes off. And that's why you need to fully know what you're working with. What you're working with when it comes to that person. All right, ladies, let's go to y'all. To wives. This is Ephesians 5. I'm reading the 25th through the 28th verse here. It says, to wives, God's instruction is to submit to your husband's leadership. That's verse 20. And you can look at verse 22. And to respect your husbands. That's verse 33. Well, we talked about this briefly the other night. Women have a problem with respecting their husband's leadership. Watch this. Because it's the person that you decided to get with. Oh, yeah, okay, let me rephrase that. Many of you have problems with that in general. Respecting the leadership of a man because you have hooked up with this man off of other things, but not off the basis of being able to respect this man and to respect his leadership. Okay, all right. Let's unpack it. Let's unpack it. Thank you, Rob, for giving us Romans 8. Let's unpack it. Many of you have put companionship, the need for companionship, ahead of the fact that you can or cannot respect this man. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, many of you have made a mistake, ladies, of marrying somebody you really don't respect. Yeah. What does that mean? You don't respect him enough to really go with that particular vow. So, but because you're tied to him for other things. Okay, let's here we come. Unpacking. Okay, Sunshine, I'm unpacking. Financial. He's paying bills. This guy is paying mad bills. This guy is a monstrous a provider. This guy is just, I mean, look what all that you have. You got a nice car. Look at the house. Man, this guy is flowing. You know, and he's easily dishing it out. Whatever you need, whatever you want. This man works hard. I'm talking about this particular, you know, there's different types of men. I'm just talking about this particular man. This man works hard to make sure that you have what you need. But there's some things in him that you don't respect. You respect the fact that he's a provider. But there's some other issues about him that you don't respect. So because of that, you don't respect him. And because you don't respect him, that submitting thing, I'm not submitting to no man. You see what I'm saying, Rob? You got me? I'm not submitting to him. Not in these other areas. He's doing the thing financial. The bed. Can we talk about the bed for a minute? Reality. This man ain't worth 2 cents on his feet. All right, okay. This man is not worth 2 cents in terms of you respecting him. He's got some good qualities, yes. But in terms of you respecting him, he doesn't have what it takes for you to respect him when he's on his feet. But he's rocking your world in the bed, rocking your world so much that you don't know you don't know how to judge. You're like, okay, I love this guy, man. I'm so attached to this guy. You're just so caught up in how he makes you feel. But you don't respect him when he's on his feet. And that's why y'all are arguing and carrying on like y'all are doing. Y'all are, you're telling him off, you're cussing him out, you're talking about his mother, all of that. But the only time when it's fixed is when it's time for intimacy. Many of you have married based off of how someone has made you feel in the intimate setting and how you all have gravitated how you have gravitated illegally, spiritually, toward each other because of the connection that you made. Revelation, let me help you here. The Bible speaks about divorcing as long as your husband is living, that you're committing adultery. And, that's the law. But Jesus came not to do away with the law, but to fulfill it. But he also came because it was impossible for us to keep the law. So God works with Jesus in terms of forgiveness, repentance, and forgiveness. Watch where I'm going. When you sleep with someone, I don't know if y'all ready for this part tonight. I'm glad y'all stayed with me. When you sleep with someone, spiritually, you are married to them. Oh, Lord. Oh, okay. What does that mean? Please, Pastor Cherry, what does that mean? You're teaching a false doctrine here tonight. I'm going to my pastor on you. You're teaching a false, you're going around saying I'm married just to somebody sleep with them. You're not married in terms of what the world says. You're not married according to law. But you are married according to spirit. And if you have not, remember God granted, say, okay, because of the hardness, I hate divorce. This is what God is saying. But because of the hardness of your hearts, so be it. So be it. And it says, remember the scripture says, as long as the married person, if you separate, as long as you're that person's living, you marry somebody else, you commit adultery, you cause the other person to commit adultery. Anybody that you slept with, you are married to. And you now must get a divorce from that person. I shouldn't have gone into this tonight because I don't have time to finish it. That's amazing, Vera, because it just came to me. I was pondering over this, and I'm like, wow, this is soul ties. This is soul ties to the extreme. Many of us have entered into a marriage when we were already married to someone else, but not on paper. Somebody ought to be running all over the house right now. Many of us, our current marriage is failing because we have a marriage of people that we've connected with that we have not divorced in the spirit, that we haven't divorced in the spirit. All right, you don't believe me? Y'all, when I can really say this next part, I think you might be able to understand. You're married now, but there's certain people, your ex, you get around them, no words are spoken. You start feeling some kind of way. Not saying that you want to jump back into bed. Not saying that. Not saying that you will ever go back. I'm talking to somebody. I don't know who I'm talking to tonight. I'm talking to somebody. But their presence, you still feel just some kind of way. this closeness. All right, all right. You ain't spoken to you won't tell nobody. You sure won't tell your wife, your husband. But there's this you're not going in that direction. But there's this closeness. You're married. That's why the scriptures say, he that committeth fornication commits, this is the only sin that you're committing to your body. This is something that you're taking on, or one of the only sins that you're taking on, that you're committing against yourself, because you're building a marriage connection. So tonight, whether you're married or you're single, I ask you tonight, don't type it. How many people are you still married to? And are you committing adultery in the spirit? Okay, all right. I don't know. Just put that out there. It's up to both spouses. Let's go back to the married folk that are struggling, married but struggling, to commit to their responsibility in what they have to do to contribute toward the marriage. Many of us are struggling because we know that it takes two to make a marriage work. Some people have said marriage is 50-50. We know that's not the truth. Marriage is 100-100. It's not 50-50. If I'm giving you 50, I'm only giving you 50% of me. If they're giving you 50, they're only giving you 50% of them. I need you to bring 100 to the marriage. I need to bring 100 to the marriage. Because there's some days, the reason why, God bless you, Kenneth, the reason why 50-50 doesn't work is because we're human, and there's certain days I might not be able to give you 50. Oh, Lord. So I'm going to need you to cross over into my 50. If you have 100, I need you to be able to cross over. I need you to have enough, more than the 50, to cross over if we're going by that 50 number. Sometimes you could give me 80. Yeah, y'all not with me. See what I'm saying? So there's some days I might be able to give you 60. There might be days I might be able to give you 40. There might be but if I bring 100% of the marriage, that's with all my heart, with all my soul. They bring me 100%. Now we have something to work with. Especially in the days, because you're human, that you may not be able to bring all of that to the table. But you have to make sure the person that you're married to wants the same things that you want. They want marriage. They want this marriage to work at all costs. It's tough when you're in a marriage and the other person refuses to do what needs to be done in order for the marriage to work. I'm going to say that again. It is so difficult because it takes two people, each giving 100, to put in whatever needs to be done in order to make the marriage work. When you're buying a house, you're putting your finances together. You're putting all of your finances together in order to be able to qualify for the house. The bigger the house is, the more each of your individual things that you have to come together, the more willing you have to be. Marriage is a mansion. And in order to be able to qualify for that mansion, you have got to be willing to put 100% in order to qualify for the mortgage, in order to have that home. Okay. All right. And the problem is when you're trying to qualify for a home and the other person is not willing to sign, they're not willing to disclose all of their financials, they're not willing to give you all of the money that you need, that's needed for the down payment for you all to be able to have this home together. So what do you do? How do you fix this? what are the things that you can do to fix this marriage? Even if an unhappy marriage results from being married to an unbeliever, there are always the possibility of the believing spouse to be able to lead the unbelieving spouse. This is another part of this. I need you to understand that unequally yoked, I've said this many times, is only a term for unmarried folks. Once you're married, the unequally yoked term goes out the window. It's saying don't yoke yourselves with unbelievers. But once you get married, the scriptures declare that the unsanctified mate is sanctified by the believing mate. And it says if that person wishes to dwell with you, it says don't get rid of them. But it says if the unbelieving depart, let them depart. A brother or sister is not under bondage under such cases, because God has called us all to peace. So it's saying, God bless you, Shirley. It's saying that don't hook up with somebody. I'm not talking about marriage. Don't hook up with somebody who's not saved if you're saved. They don't believe in God. You believe in God. You don't have anything in common. Nothing worth hooking up with. But if you're married and that person's not saved, you're not supposed to get rid of them just for that. So I want you to look at your marriage, if you're married, and figure out what the problems are. If this person that you're with has some issues that are not resolved, they don't go away by doing nothing about them. They don't go away about not talking about them. Can I tell y'all something about us men? My wife, if she was on, she would probably say amen too. We've got 12 minutes left. We don't like to expose ourselves. We don't like to talk about anything. We don't like, because of who we are as men, we really want, deep down, a man wants a woman to respect them. Deep down, a man wants to be the person that you all look up to. We want y'all to look at us as a knight in shining armor. We want y'all to look at us as having all of the answers. We want you all to look at us as problem solvers. We want you all to look at us as being such a man that no other man could even compare. We would hate to feel inferior to another man in any shape or form. That's why many of us are in the gym and we're in front of the mirror and we're just working hard and we're looking at ourselves being built up, because we have this thing about us. We want to be the one that you look to for strength. You look to for all of the answers. So getting to the depth of my problems puts me in the place that makes me operate against my nature of wanting to be your all in all. I don't want to discuss anything or have anything brought to the surface that's going to, I feel, emasculate me as a man. I don't want to discuss anything that's going to make me feel inferior in your eyes. So when you come to me, see, when I tell you about a woman, when she gets in the house, she's unstrapping stuff. She's going to get comfortable. She's just a woman. It is what it is. This is it. This is what it is. You know, I'm just. You know, this is me. You know, women expose themselves more than they do more than men. And this is why many women get hurt, because they expose themselves thinking that they will be loved anyway. And many men are superficial, and once you expose yourself, like, oh, I ain't interested anymore. But a woman likes to expose herself. A woman, I've said it over and over, is a rib. A rib protects the vital organs. The ribs forms a shape of this chest cavity. It keeps the shape of the chest cavity. The ribs surround themselves to protect the organs from being damaged. Many times, a woman's makeup is to expose what needs to be exposed in order to help. One of the reasons why Eve got caught up in the garden, Satan came in the form of a serpent, brought her a revelation, that she thought was a revelation, and she figured, wait a minute, okay, so God is holding out on us. Tell me about this. Tell me about this thing about the fruit, even though God said don't mess with it. Tell me more about it, because when I'm done talking to you, I'm going to my husband. Y'all, okay. When you finish schooling me, I'm going to help my marriage. When you're done, I'm going to pass this information on, because maybe it will expose Adam in a way to something he hasn't been exposed to, because he's been so busy working in dirt all day. I want to expose this thing that hasn't been exposed. I want to expose this to the man, so that way it will help him, because I'm a rib. I'm here to keep the shape. Y'all playing with me, of this relationship flowing, to keep this marriage going, to make it all that it can be. So any information that you pass to me, I'm going to use it to, yes, uncover and expose my husband so I can help my marriage. Men often are not ready for that. That's why we always tell you, not now. And we say not now all the time. There's never a time. Women, am I right? There's never been a time that you say, can we talk about it? And you go, oh yeah, perfect time. Thank you so much. Please expose me. Remove the ribs. Here's my organs. Just expose me. Open up this chest cavity and just rip me out. Just rip me to pieces. Expose. There's never been a time that we say, yeah, it's good. Ooh, come on. Tear me up. What do we need to fix? No, we don't want to hear it, because sometimes, women, your perception is off, but many times your perception is dead accurate, and we don't want to hear the truth. We don't want to hear anything that's going to come against our egotistical nature as a man. We have it. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it from you. One of the reasons why there are more women in church than men, because when the preacher's preaching, they're stepping on toes, and they're dealing with things, and a woman can take, when you're dealing with the spiritual, because she's a rib. She's a rib. Men don't want to hear correction. They don't want to hear from other men. They don't want to hear. That's why they're not on tonight. There's only a few men that are with us. They don't want to hear this. Because a man thinks he could come up with his own answers. Case in point, before GPS, how many of you been stuck in the car with a man? It could have been your dad, could have been your uncle, could have been your man, your boyfriend, your husband. They don't know where they're going. They're lost. They're lost. And you're saying, baby, please I'm a rib. I believe I've got some more information for you. If you just ask somebody, let's fix this. If you just ask somebody, honey, they can tell us how to get there. Now, we don't even want to ask somebody in town who knows the way how to get to where we need to get to. We are so much involved in our egotistical nature as a man, wanting to solve the problems on our own. We want to somehow just run up on the street on our own. Say, baby, see, I got us there. I didn't have to bother anybody. Baby, why don't you stop in the gas station? I got it. We don't got to stop there. I know something's familiar. I believe I can find it. You see how all that works? We don't want to talk. We don't want to hear from you. We don't want to ask directions. And one of the reasons why we don't go to church, because that's a form of asking directions. Oh, yeah. From someone else. We were built with a capacity to lead. But with leadership comes responsibility. Leadership brings on responsibility. You want to lead? You've got to deal with the consequences. You are responsible. When you are in leadership, you must amass knowledge. You must take the time to learn and to grow. So you got a man who doesn't want to hear from another man, hasn't been taught by his dad how to keep a marriage, how to love a wife, only going by movies. And most movies are you get them in the bed and you dominate in the bed. And if you dominate in the bed, the woman is always going to keep coming back. Ladies, can y'all be honest tonight? Can you be honest real quickly tonight? How many men in your life at some point have you allow them to overextend their stay, or you allow them to come back, and you knew it was really they were only coming back for sex? It was just in and out. It was just this in and out type of thing. You allow them to come in and out. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? So what do you do in this marriage when your husband, I'll say the husband first of all, because we've got some men here that just have some problems with women. But what do you do when you have a marriage where the man doesn't want to talk, he doesn't acknowledge anything that's wrong, he doesn't want to fix anything? You're going to have to go to his boss. You got a coworker on your job you can't do nothing with. You got a supervisor on your job you can't do nothing with. Sooner or later, you have a choice. Either you put up with it to the point you put up with it, keep things just going, or you quit, or you go over their head. See, when you work on a job, office, if you drive a bus, I know you get this politics and that too, but you're out on the road, you're not in the office. The office situation, many of you that work in our office, you understand that's a dog-eat-dog world right there, working in an office with folk. Baby, I can go over your head and you won't even know it. See, I'm going to be smooth with it. I'm not going to play my hand. Because I know that if you know that I went over your head, that it's going to cause problems. Now you're going to shut down on me, and the things that I need for you as a supervisor or as a coworker, we've now damaged the relationship, and sometimes it's irreparable. We can't repair it. So I'm not going to let you know that I'm going to your boss, but I'm going to your boss. It's time, ladies, to go to the Creator. It's time. Thank you, Kim. You understand what I'm talking about, Kim David. It's time to make sure that you don't emasculate this man. I don't care what he's done. The more you do that, the more you're going to push him away. You trying to save the marriage? Now, if you don't want to save the marriage, I'll come on next time and talk about, if you don't want to save the marriage, you could just show your tail. I'm signing off tonight. But if you want to save this marriage, I don't care what he's doing. Don't make him feel less than a man. That's part of the problem. I know you're trying to fix it. A rib wants to fix it. A rib wants to fix it. You need to start watching Good Times a little bit more. That show, Good Times, because Florida Evans ran the house, but James was the head of the house. She respected James, but when she needed to check James, she did it in a way that didn't emasculate him as a man, so he was still able to stand as a man and still look like a man in front of his children. But when Florida had enough, she had enough knowledge, y'all not with me tonight, to check him in a way that still made him feel like a man at the end of the day. Well, when the credits were rolling at the end of the show, baby, James Evans was still a man. All right, that's it. I got to stop here. Join me next week, next Thursday at 9 p.m., and we will continue this talk. Tonight, we talked about married but struggling. You're not going to get your answers overnight. It's a process. So we can't do this overnight. One session is not going to solve everything. I love you all. I hope you all got something from this tonight. Meet me on Monday night at 9 p.m. We're going to go back to the single folks, and we're going to swing with the single folks for a minute. I love you all. Thank you all for being with me. Good night.